My name is Stephen Sims, and this is the first in a series of video diaries charting the development of a new piece of theatre that I'm creating based upon the 1920 expressionist movie The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, a silent film. So the whole idea is to try and take this silent film as the script, and with the cast turn that into a new piece of theatre. There's some challenges in that, obviously, and we just started rehearsals today. So the aim of these recordings is to just mark through the development of how we create this new piece and how we attack that challenge of how to translate something from one medium into another. The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari has all kinds of themes, and I just want to talk about two now because they're a couple of our starting points. The first is the idea of Plato's cave. This idea that he had, Plato, that there were people living in a cave who were chained so that all they could see was the wall, and the fire behind them made reflections of objects that passed outside the door of the cave onto the wall. And so for the people who saw nothing else, they came to believe that that was reality, that was the world, whereas in fact they were just shadows. And it's an idea that gets played with famously in the movie The Matrix, this idea that the world you're in is just a shadow of something else. So this idea of what is reality, and Dr. Caligari has a very unreliable narrator. So the idea of what is truth, what is the reality we're living in, seems very pertinent to where I am now in 2017 with false news and alternative facts. I think it's getting increasingly difficult for us to decipher what our truth is, what reality is. So we're going to be playing with that theme as one. The second theme is one of mesmerism and hypnosis, which you can imagine links with the first, the idea of controlling others through a kind of a mesmeric force. And we're going to be playing with that as a theme. And that mesmeric force, which is a theme in the movie and will be in our theatre production, sort of ties into a couple of ideas of expressionist acting that, again, I want to explore. Ideas of acting that I've been reading this great book by David Koons about expressionist acting, and he identifies a couple of acting styles which he describes as Schrei acting, like screaming acting, and Geist acting, like essence, spirit acting. There's two sorts of expressionism, really, a kind of a counter attempt against naturalism as the prevailing mode of expression, which it is now in theatre, obviously. So Schrei acting is about the ecstatic moment, is about pressure building to a point where it gets released somehow in some kind of scream-like effect. Geist acting is a sort of sound. It has a similar quality. It's about using sound, but it's really where he describes it as the spiritual theatre of pure abstraction. So these two ideas are, it seems to me, quite easy to write about in a book, but to actually experience as live art form now, it's really, it doesn't exist. So part of what I'm trying to do is explore with actors who have been brought up through a predominantly Stanislavski-based naturalistic way of working, who've been trained in that form, exploring some of these, what this kind of Schrei or Geist acting might involve. I think what's actually happened over time is that since the beginning of the sort of 20th century, I think those ideas have transformed and been picked up by Grotowski, for example, or Michael Chekhov, the idea of working with imagery in an expressionistic way, and also in mid-20th century, the emergence of Buto in Japan as that image-driven, expressionist, predominantly physical way of working. So there's some of the things that we're going to be trying out. As a starting point, we're looking to create a vocabulary with which to tell this story. And today's rehearsal was our first day of rehearsal, and so we were doing some Buto work. We spent several hours focusing on that. And we also had a hypnotist come in who worked with mesmerism and hypnotized the cast, and that was really interesting. Those of us who could be hypnotized, those who couldn't be, and just exploring that tension between knowing that you've been told to do something and knowing what you want to do, and yet not quite being able to follow your own will, but finding yourself in this state of tension. So I think all those things are going to relate through to this project. This is the first video blog about it, and I hope that you'll keep with me as I try and record this process throughout. So look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.